in StreamYard.
Another Sunday, another case of the Scaries to start work week. Welcome to the newest edition of the Sunday Scaries with all your gore, lore, and more. Covering all the latest horror happenings, slicing open all the latest horror news, and dissecting it bit by bit, finding all those juicy innards. Pour yourself a nightcap and turn your fright lights while we take you on a tour of terror. Boom, there we are. All three, the trio. Look at us.
Hello.
Three gentlemen.
Hello.
Just the three best friends, just hanging out, just doing their thing.
Best friends that anyone could have.
Jake's gonna cry if we exclude him from that. I said that at the movies after Bone Temple, or was that that was Bone Temple. Yeah. So I'm sorry, I can't be cheating on Jake. He'll cry.
I understand. I wouldn't want to cheat on Jake either.
There we are.
Yes, we are.
Yes, Gracie, we are completely snowed in. Davey, what's going on, brother? How you doing? Welcome.
Big Dave.
And then we got what's going on, greeting programs, what's happening. Violet, what's happening? Welcome.
The gang
is Glory, what's going on? I love it. Love the Crypt Keeper. But yeah, no, it snowed like crazy over here. It's going nuts. What's happening? Welcome. We had I woke up this morning, I shoveled out my walkway and everything because we park on the street, so we don't have like a real formal driveway. And so it was already looking pretty rough because like our tires were basically like half covered. And it's like it's been a minute since I've seen snow like that. So I shoveled out my walkway. Within 2 hours, I looked outside the window. You wouldn't have thought I touched it. It was just like another like 3-4 inches. And then by the time it all stopped, I think it was like 6 inches that I just quickly basically threw out while I took my dog out.
I mean, it just kept going. I remember I kept looking outside last night to see if the snow had started, and it hadn't by the time I had went to bed, at least not the last time I looked out. And then I randomly woke up at 5 a.m. and looked outside, and my wife woke up too, and she goes, "Is it snowing?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's snowing." She goes, "Is it bad?" I was like, "It doesn't look as bad as I thought it was going to be." And I laid back in bed, and I said, "Maybe it's a blizzard. I'm not sure."
I feel you. Yeah. What's going on? Good morning. Hey, thanks for staying up with us. We appreciate it. Yeah, SoCal is dry. Okay, all right.
What else is new about SoCal?
First live I've caught. Love the channel. Well, thank you for staying with us, Guitar Supervillain. What's going on? Yeah, this is definitely, I would say, like for my son too, it's like this is the first real, I would say for Ella probably then as well, the first real big snowstorm I would say they've experienced, because since Atticus was born, I think it was the right before he was born was the last real big one.
That real big one we had.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because last year was pretty mild in comparison to sometimes what we get. We hadn't had a really big snowstorm, but yeah, this one is comparable to what we had a few years ago. But Ella loves the snow, so because she doesn't have to drive in it, she doesn't have to go to work or anything.
Right.
She loves just looking at it and going and playing in it.
That's true. Did you guys get hit down there in Tennessee, Adrian, or is it staying pretty nice down there?
Dude, all right, look, I know I'm a northerner. I'm new to Tennessee, so if you're from Tennessee and watching this, I'm sorry. But everybody was acting like it was going to be the apocalypse down here. It went from 20 inches of snow to like 10, 8, 6, 4, you name it. And, Friday night, Saturday morning, a little snowy. I woke up today morning, and, dude, all the rain came through and just made it into an icy wasteland.
Ooh.
So, yeah, I looked at it. I was like, I wonder if that's still going to be there tomorrow. And I got to go talk.
You know what sucks about that? I wonder if Tennessee, you guys are probably way too far south, because, I heard this from my cousins when they lived in Georgia. What's going on, Stephanie? That they don't have, salt trucks, or, at least as many as, what we have here, because we expect snow every year. So it's that's a huge problem if it's all ice. So it's I wonder if that's going to be an issue.
That's the biggest thing. They barely ever snow. It barely ever snows down here. 3 feet?
Jesus, that's quite a lot. That's
must be living by lake,
right? Yeah, that's right.
I said that exactly.
It's like when you see those videos where the cats bust through the snow It's like piled up by the door. Which when we that first winter that we were just talking about, literally the first time I ever had a like I guess you'd call them, what are those called? The sliding glass doors. Don't they have like a special
Sliding
name?
glass door.
Okay, sliding glass door. Literally, I had that, and like it was the first time I'd ever had one on a house that was like I had to deal with. That first winter piled up like halfway up the sliding glass door. I was like, how the fuck do I like what do I do? Because then I looked it up and they're like, yeah, you should probably get the snow off of it because the pressure and the weight if it piles up even more. And I'm like, really? This is a nightmare. So I was just like, this is I don't even know. Like I pretty much now have to batten down the hatches every like winter on the deck to make it so that way it's like there's at least some degree of separation in case we get that much snow. So I have like a bunch of like things piled up right there that are like kind of like soft and movable, like big like bench chair and stuff. So
You're soft and movable.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, that's been our weekend pretty much. I mean, other than that, what else do we have this week? We had Mother of Flies.
Yeah, Mother of Flies. That's on Shudder now. If you haven't checked it out, definitely go seek that one out. It's worth a subscription for at least the month to check that one out. Adam's Family is always great, and they definitely show up with Mother of Flies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was definitely a treat to get to watch that one again because we saw that one at Fantastic Fest, and it was also one of those things where we literally were denied access at first, but just because we try to go in like and basically cover all of our bases, we had also reached out to Toby Poser, and she always hooks it up. So she's the best. So thank you again, Toby. It's an honor to get to check out your film because yeah, so far these guys have not really like they have not lost with me, and this one I think is really starting to land with people. Yep, look at Amy there. She says Mother of Flies has amazing gore.
The baby scene. Oh
Dude.
my gosh, come on. It's fantastic. I think, that really did surprise me. We talk about it in our review, and they don't shy away from it, because they are low budget, but it doesn't feel that way, especially with Mother of Flies. We talked about them kind of really stepping up their game, have a lot of memorable stuff. And I mean, Adam's Family, they're just great people. Like Dylan said, Toby was able to hook us up during the festival so we could check it out that one time. And then we kind of got a proper review out to the channel. But anytime we talk to them, I mean, we've traded back and forth even since our review because they've seen it. And I mean, just wonderful people. I'm so glad that they found their niche and a lot of people enjoy their stuff.
Yeah, and that's like it's been really nice to see the positive reception that this movie's been getting from a lot of people because it's like this one. I like the departure with Hellhole. I thought it was fun.
Was that one on Shudder when it came out, or was that?
Yes, that did come to Shudder eventually. I think I don't think it was day and date like this one. I don't know, but that one was. But the thing with me on this one is just like this feels right in line with like Where the Devil Roams and like Hellbender-esque, and it's same-ish subject matter. So I could see that, but I really like when they tackle the gothic horror. They just have an absolute like they know how to bring it on a budget, and that's very rare to do. It's like I feel like you look at people like her and them, and then you look at like Robert Eggers and how he was able to do that on a budget with The Witch, and it's like it's really, really fucking good. I did want to check out. There was somebody. Oh yeah, actually, it's already up. Erica here gloating about having 77-degree weather while we're all snowed in. Well, congratulations, you and then Reaper are also all enjoying the weather yourselves. I'm glad that at least you're not snowed in. You can go do stuff. But we prepared at least. I don't know if you guys did. But our household, like I went out twice to the store, basically Friday and then Saturday, just to make sure we had everything, like just kind of double checking. And so like today, we've just literally been inside. I think I let Atticus play out front in the snow for like a half hour. And then like that was it.
I thought about going to the store, but then I was like, it'd be way fun to pretend it's like World War II over here and we're just rationing everything and just trying to get through.
Oh man, Necro's got it figured out. Tinfoil hat time,
yes.
Record low temperatures simultaneously as a record high temperatures in other areas.
These boys,
like, there we go. Let's go.
These boys, they might not be privy to conspiracy theories like this guy right here, but I also felt like it was very strange. Got a huge storm. Shelves were emptying at lightning speed. dude, we went to the store. Everybody was at the store. Who's to say this wasn't to sell excess stock and to, I mean,
Let's
hey,
get
that's
a,
the
let's get the YouTube memberships open, and then we can just have Adrian and Necro run a conspiracy theory night show that they can do together, where they just bring up random conspiracy theories that they both enjoy, and then they can break them all down for us. I think that'd be fun.
I'd also, aerosol, stratospheric aerosol injection or global warming, wherever you are on the political compass. Can't even talk. But yeah, pretty crazy.
The government is controlling the weather, is what it is.
They're also controlling me.
There's batteries in the birds.
Batteries in the birds. Wasn't that a meme?
Forgot about that one. Yeah. It was like, yeah, I don't remember nothing about it, but that was pretty funny.
Yeah, well, good for Florida. Damn. My God, Erica sent a meme in the Discord, and yeah, no, it's 144-degree difference going across the country. That's crazy. That's wild. Well, nothing is ever normal anymore on this planet, I guess. Not just our country, but the planet, it seems like, has always got something crazy going on. I know the bears in Japan have been nuts. Have you guys heard about this?
No, what?
Oh my God.
Cocaine bears in real life?
No, not cocaine bears, the bears in Japan. But apparently and I watched a mini doc about this. I think it was Vice, of all places, or something that's felt like Vice. Just popped up on my YouTube. Yep, see, Reaper gets it. Sorry, but
he knows what's going on.
So does Erica.
Cocaine bears. There we go. But to get back on topic here, they've been having these issues with people just who just live in their like villages and stuff like that are more kind of rural areas in Japan, that these black bears, of all bears, they have these big Ussuri brown bears and stuff that are really vicious, and were for a long time very dominant predators there. But it's just these little black bears that aren't any bigger than our average American black bear, and they are fucking people up. They are literally, they have in almost, I think, I wouldn't call it a state of emergency, but they are paying high ransoms and money to basically be come shoot these black bears, because they don't have enough people that participate in hunting of bears there. So it's just one of those things, because hunting in Japan is not a huge thing because of all the gun regulation. So they're dealing with a huge problem where people are just getting effed up by black bears left, right, and center. I guess it's something 200 and something attacks in just this year alone.
They're coming into the city.
Or no, it's within the last couple of months. Yeah, no, they are coming within city limits too. Here, I'll try to find the article.
Are the bears just sneaking up on people? Or
yes,
I mean,
yeah.
I feel like I'd see a black bear coming at me, but I mean, yeah, once
I see
pursuit, but what's the body count on that?
Let me see here.
I mean, as of 4 weeks ago, we got 13 people died to maulings. Oh, this is talking about Akita black bears, you said?
Yeah, those are the ones. They're not very big, but they will mess you up. Yeah.
47,000 Asian black bear sightings over 8 months.
Yeah,
over 200 injuries reported through November.
Yep. As of the end of November, 235 bear attacks had killed 13 people across Japan just this past year. Both the highest figures since recordings began in 2006.
What do you guys think about Splattercast goes to Japan to solve the black bear mystery here in?
Oh my God!
Found footage film. We all die at the end.
Here, I feel like
we'll go monitor the black bear situation in Japan.
If we're going this far off topic, I'll at least show everybody so they can find the article. This is just whatever pulled up here, but yeah, it's real. It's
look at that sign.
Up. Yeah, it's wild, and there's
it actually looks like a really cool movie poster.
Okay, so there's this great channel. I've recommended this before. But it's he does, I'll get his name in a second, but he does these like kind of hand-drawn like voiceover videos talking about all these like cryptids and stuff, and he documents this crazy bear attack that happened in like Japan. I want to say in like the, is it like the 17th century or 1800s? I'll have to look into it, but it's this great rendition of this. It's almost like I think it's like an hour and a half long video, but it basically like he pretty much narrates it like it's a movie. His name is Bob Gimlin, and it's really intriguing stuff. I'd love to see a movie made out of it, but apparently it's like a big thing, like just because of how sacred that story is and just how like awful and tragic it is. And I didn't really know this, but like apparently well, I guess that makes sense, but the in Japanese culture, when it comes to real life tragedies and depicting them in movies and stuff, they're very sensitive about that. That's also something that came up when I was covering the movie Concrete a couple months ago for one of my lists, where it's like that was a very sensitive topic. To get that movie made was very, very a huge struggle for them over in Japan. So it's pretty crazy. But yeah, this is not Japan's first outing with crazy bear attacks. So keep up on this story if you're interested. I certainly am.
The bear pandemic over there, huh?
It's interesting. It's definitely, it's ripe for some kind of a movie or something. But yeah, it's also been a pretty crazy week in the news. We got a lot of fun stories today. We'll be diving into a couple little updates and some things that we're getting excited to see here shortly. But one of the big things we're tackling today is, of course, continuing the Scream review series with our Scream 3 coverage, which will be in the second half of the show. So unless we got something else going on, thank you, Erica, for the $2. We appreciate it as always. If there's anything else that we don't want to bring up, gentlemen, don't want to talk about, we could just hop right into the news.
Absolutely.
I'm good if you are. All right, let's do it, Luke. Pick your poison.
All right. Well, let's hop into it. We did have a release. Dylan and I did not go see it. Adrian did not either. But the new Silent Hill film dropped this week to scathing reviews. That's why we didn't go. But one of the interesting things is that also some news came out about Zach Krager's installment of Resident Evil. One of the actresses, Kaylee Reese, had come out and said that, this is going to be Zach Krager's take on an origin story for Resident Evil. She did say, I think you guys are going to be blown away by his imagination, his ideas, and this kind of comedic journey through this crazy, wild time in this Resident Evil story. I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. And as we know, with weapons, with Barbarian, Zach Krager always puts his creative stamp on there. And I think with how volatile the horror video game into film subgenre has been Until Dawn it wasn't as bad as some of the things that we do see, but it just didn't really hit the spot, especially with what that game was and the source material. Then you look at Five Nights at Freddy's, doesn't really do it for us. And then with Silent Hill, just never really finding that right story to tell. Is this the right way to go? Is more so put your creative spin on something and kind of do what Zach Krager's doing here, is going to tell his own story, going to tell his own version of an origin story. Do you think that is kind of cracking the code to this situation of transitioning from video game to film and making that a must-see film rather than kind of an 8% in Rotten Tomatoes?
I have like a really hard time kind of just like saying like outright, just flat out that is like the thing you need to do to make it work, because I do think there are some video games that are really just, if they really just did 1-to-1 across the board, which I know nobody's really ever gonna do, maybe again, it would be the best way and the proper way to tell the story in a lot of ways. But like, again, I think that's why most video games should go the series route. And I think it should be like 8 hours of something. Like, I'm happy to see that with God of War, because I think that's something that I would not want them to rush. And I think like for this, it's just disappointing because, again, it felt like this was going to be something that the fans were really going to love. And I have not seen it. I have not like given him my appraisal. Neither has Luke. We we're just preparing for the snowstorm. And honestly, with a 7% and that, it was like, I really would rather just fight copyright claims and finish this up and get this list out to you guys than do all that. But I gotta say, man, this was one that just like, it sucks, but at the same time, I think that it's not really like we're on a good trajectory as far as horror video games go, because I see a couple of you guys bringing up Fallout in the Fallout right there, because Fallout, yes, is apparently doing pretty well. I haven't heard much about season 2 yet, but the first season I know has widely been praised. I do need to sit down and watch it.
And I'm not a big video game guy, so at least more so modern video games. So, the storytelling is not as precious to me. And I know, Dylan, you're talking about kind of not necessarily taking an original route to things, but more so it's with the storytelling. But like with the video game, I loved Uncharted. I think that's a great video game. It's probably the last one that I really sat down and played from beginning to end, and it captivated me. But like looking at that, and a lot of video games, and I think maybe my issue is that a lot of video games play like films, so there's a lot of cutscenes, and I just find myself watching something, and I'm like, well, I could just watch something for an hour and a half.
Like most Sony like games nowadays have a mode that is literally called like, I think like cinematic mode or movie mode, where you can play the game and they make the story the priority. So like some things aren't as hard, so you can keep the story moving. So it's literally designed like that. Yeah.
So I guess my question is, because I know for me, I like this idea from Zach Krager, is to take bullet points from things like Resident Evil, whatever video game you're doing, but then fill it in with your own creative spin. Because I feel like if you take something like Uncharted, and that's a very cinematic video game, it does feel like a film, but if you just translate it into filmmaking, it feels a little redundant to me, where it's like, I already know the story, I know exactly everything. So I think when I look for video games, same with a novel, where it's like, I'm fine with you doing creative liberties as long as you tell the story well. It doesn't necessarily have to be true blue. Dylan and I just did we covered a list that's coming out this coming Friday, and we talk about
it is if you want.
Well, we talk about The Mist and what kind of how that ending is, how it's different, and I think that ending works rather well considering the source material. So it's like, I look at that and compare it to Zach Krager, where he's got a track record of really telling these original stories with weapons, with Barbarian, and then taking something like Resident Evil, where he just needs the bullet points and he can fill in the rest because of how he's able to tell a story.
Yeah, I know I should have circled back to the actual topic, but like I got carried away talking about the video games and Silent Hill. But like, this is a thing where I see both sides for Resident Evil, because I see people who are going to be upset and are disappointed that once again they have been kind of shunned from getting their pure adaptation of Resident Evil, which it just seems like nobody ever wants to do once they have this. And it just seems like some of this, like a lot of people point to, just adapt the game Resident Evil 4. Like, just have Leon there, do that. It's like, it's a good little self-contained story and it would be great. But like, I feel for those people, but at the same time, I'm a way bigger Zach Krager fan than I am a Resident Evil fan, admittedly. So him taking the creative liberties, almost giving a pseudo origin story to this, it almost feels like his way of not fucking with anything that people are expecting and are going to love and want and demand, while still being able to tell a semi-original story with DNA from the games, which I hope is what he does. And I hope it works. Now, we've seen great people step in to do big properties like this. I think like, I remember when not Mads Mikkelsen, oh my God, Michael Fassbender got attached to that Assassin's Creed video game movie. Everybody was like, holy shit, like, this is a big guy. He's just been nominated for Academy Awards like a bunch of years in a row. Like, this is a real big pickup for them. They're taking it serious. And that movie was just dog shit. It's like, it's the same thing. I don't know. So for me, I'm excited for this, but I think I'm more excited for a movie, but I still feel for the Resident Evil purists who are a bit disappointed by this. I can't say it's video game adaptations are just so fucking difficult. I'm sorry. It's just like, it's too, you think it would be easy, but it's just, we don't have it all the way. Some of them were working, some of them are not. And it just seems like for every win that we get, we got to get 4 bad ones. So I don't know.
Is that what fans are more
Yeah.
so on the side of like Adrian, with you and Silent Hill? Do you just want a retelling of the video game, or do you want something where it's like we have the bullet points and fill in the blanks so that I know the source material, I know how the video game is, but when I sit down at the theater, I'm able to kind of have, I can compartmentalize each different thing where it's like, yeah, this is the video game. I'm going into the movie, so I know that we're going to have some similar beats, but I want overall an original story that's going to tie me back to what I know about the video game.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit of both, in my opinion, is the secret formula that we're missing for a lot of adaptations. Fallout is a good example of a good adaptation, but you'll see that a lot of people's criticisms is like retcon of certain lore and logic in certain universes, things of that nature. I'd be totally down for an original story in the Resident Evil universe, Silent Hill universe. Please give me a Dead Space movie. Speaking of the scary game list, but yeah, that's where I'm at. Like, just follow the rules that the universe set in place, and you can craft an original story. And I think any fan will be happy with it, as long as the writing doesn't suck. As long as every other part of the movie holds up.
And I think, sorry, not to cut you off,
You're
but
good,
like,
you're good.
I think it's kind of like, Dylan and I talk about this, and my love for, I have a bigger appreciation for a sequel in a franchise that owns up to everything that had come before it, rather than saying, okay, no, 4 through 6 don't exist anymore, and we're just going to go from 3 and tell that kind of story, where it's like the rules that are set in place for the video game, we've kind of set the universe, we've set our boundaries. Now you tell your story within those boundaries that have been set. It doesn't have to be an exact retelling, but it's like we're playing within the lore that has been set without, discarding it and upsetting fans. But I don't think we need a complete retelling of a story, because it's like, if it was 8-bit stuff and we kind of know the lore to it, but it feels different, then I would say, okay, we can do a retelling in a more cinematic fashion. But when video games are so cinematic already, that it's like, okay, now I just sat down a couple of years ago and I watched this on my TV, and now I'm at the theater just seeing actors play the parts.
Yeah,
it's nothing will be as bad as Borderlands was.
I didn't see that
watched
one.
it. Yeah,
it looked horrible.
I've heard rough things, man. Especially because I have a coworker who, if you're watching, yeah, I'm calling you out. I have a couple coworkers or ex-coworkers that absolutely still love, adore Borderlands. Like, they were talking all the excitement about playing 4. They played it together. It's one of those things where that's their franchise, and the movie just disappointed them so hard. And it was so hard to see, because they didn't go see it when it came out. They knew. They were just like, no, I'm just going to come to it in my own time. And yeah, I just remember the call I got when one of them finally watched it. It was like, oh no, it was not great.
I love Jack Black and I love the character Claptrap, but those should not be the same character.
And it's like, he was the one thing from the trailer that I thought was actually doing pretty good, but yeah, I've heard it wasn't the best. So yeah, I heard just overall it's the juice was not worth the squeeze, I'm afraid, on that one.
Did that come out shortly after Thanksgiving, or was that before?
I think it was right before, because he finished it and then shot Thanksgiving, and then Thanksgiving came out, I believe, that November.
Okay.
Yeah, if I remember correctly. Maybe it did get shelved. I don't remember all of it.
I forgot that film existed until it was coming out. I was like, oh yeah, there is a Borderlands film coming out.
Yeah, it's not ideal for the fans, I guess. And it sucks because it had so many big people in it too. But I think that's also getting at a little bit of what Necro's been talking about here with the recognition that the horror films have gotten this year from the Oscars. And I guess if you want to count last year too, with things like The Substance and stuff, it is going to be one of those things where I think there's another threat to this that he's not mentioning that I think could potentially, draw us a little closer to more streamlined horror stuff. and it being a little bit more of the brand play from a lot of studios. And that's just because if you look at the box office the last 2 years, horror is like consistently producing. Like when you look at budgets to revenue, like horror is the only thing really making a killing at the box office on a consistent basis. I mean, we just talked about Weapons with Zach Kreger in this story here. Like his movie was a huge surprise. Like we thought it was going to be big and that horror fans were going to like it because they knew it was the guy who did Barbarian. But the amount of just regular old Joes who went to the theater and saw that and supported that. Same with Sinners. It's like that's what I think, that and the awards recognition could threaten some of that sheen of just the originality and the risk taking to go away. But I think that horror is malleable enough, and I think you can do it at such a low budget that it's not going to stop. It won't stop the experimentation that we have going on places like Shudder, Screambox, you know, all these little independent indie people like the Addams Family. Whether we had a Sinners cinematic universe or not, or a Weapons cinematic universe, more likely, the Addams Family are still going to be able to make their movies, and there's still going to be places for them to show them. So as long as that stays, I'll take it for the time being.
Yeah, I think horror is just so lucrative right now, especially with its storytelling. It's such an intriguing time, especially when you think about it, because growing up for me, especially like in the 90s and just having cable television and just watching so many things. Every time we do a review, it seems like I always mention AMC or whatever. It's like just cruising through the channels and found something that I absolutely love. And it's like, I think that had such an influence on a lot of creatives today, where it's like the 80s were such a pivotal time with horror and its influence. And we're easily seeing that today with directors and screenwriters that are like, even if they aren't necessarily just exclusively horror, but they dabble into the horror space because they always talk about their influences from guys like John Carpenter, Sam Raimi, where it's just like those things are so ingrained in their DNA of storytelling and so unique that everyone has this, I think, hunger for horror nowadays, where it's like even general audiences, like Goosebumps, Are You Afraid of the Dark were such an important piece in my childhood. And I think for a lot of people that you kind of remember being scared and you want that feeling again as being a kid. So I think that's why horror is so lucrative right now, where it's like I can go to the theater and be scared. And I that's a familiar feeling of my childhood that I like. And it's like, and I think that's inspired so many creatives where it's like, I don't necessarily discard something that's PG-13 in terms of horror, where it's like you can tell a pretty good horror story within the confines of a PG-13 rating. It's just kind of being able to find it. But it's like Dylan said, there's so much stuff going out in Shudder, Screambox that is very rated R, very gory, and they make use of it. That's why it's like there's so many creatives in the horror space right now that I think there's so much diversity in their storytelling, because horror in general just has diverse storytelling. You can, I mean, look at The Substance. That's such a wild story, but it works to perfection. But who would have guessed, you know? But it's like, that's what you can do. The Substance across the board is a different story as compared to Good Boy, but they both work in horror.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, like I really love to discuss like just how much texture and just how much moldability like the horror subgenre is. It's really something you can kind of throw into any other genre and it works. You know, it's like you can always make something like a horror western sounds incredible. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, think about things like Bone Tomahawk, which I know everybody in here, I know a number of people in this chat right now will praise that film because it's like it's incredible. And Adrian, you've seen Bone Tomahawk, right?
I love it, man. The fact that there was just like no music, it was so quiet the entire time. It just made it so tense.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say I'm doing you a disservice if we haven't done that. It's a really great one, and I think like that's something that I will always point to as an example of just showing like how even that movie itself is like it's probably 2 parts Western, 1 part horror, really, because it's predominantly a slow journey where it's just cowboys talking and a couple of shootouts. And then it just like hard right into, holy fuck, we got cannibal, like evil mountain people taking us up to this mountain and gutting us. It's crazy. It's good stuff like that. I think it's really it's a nice spice you can add to many different dishes. Is how I look at horror.
I just want to jump in. We also got a mention of Brawl and Cell Block 99. Anytime
That's
that
what's
pops
up.
up, that is such a fucking good movie, man. If you haven't seen that one, Vince Vaughn in that is tremendous. I love the story. I love the grit in that. And my gosh, the gore in that is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it's that I think all of S. Craig Zoller's movies are great. I love
He's
all
so
three
good.
of them, but like, yeah, Brawl and Cell Block 99 is that movie is so unique, and I love the way it tells stories. I mean, I really like the way all three of his movies tell stories. He's very he's one of those people who writes his movies like a novel. He doesn't like skimp on the detail.
The storytelling feels similar, even though the settings are completely different. If that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. And they always have that kind of grindhousey throwback kind of sheen to them too. Like he does pull those like Tarantino did kind of deal. It's nice. Let me see here. I want to catch back up in the chat real quick. Yeah, everybody was talking Goosebumps. Oh, sorry, forgive me, guys. I'm a little exhausted tonight. To the point about horror reminding us of childhood, that was one of the main things I enjoyed about Shelby Oaks. The beginning was found footage, was so nostalgic for me. Yeah, I mean, like, I think that, like, Shelby Oaks really has some very strong moments. The first 20 minutes of Shelby Oaks, we've very consistently said, I think all that found footage stuff was so impactful.
Yeah.
And, you know, the screening I went to for it, we got to do a little Q&A. It was a backer screening with Chris on that. And I wasn't planning on asking a question, but it came up kind of naturally through the flow of the room, where I just felt like we didn't expand too deeply on a question I just genuinely had, which was, what was harder? Was it shooting or making, I guess, the found footage elements of it and like the whole documentary part, or was it shooting it linearly? And it was actually, he said the fun part, the creative part, the never ending part was the documentary, because all of it, most of it was stock footage. And he was just like, I could literally plug and play it. I could rewrite it 100 times. And it was just like, that was really cool to hear it. It really showed you just how creatively liberating that whole section was. And I think you feel that. I think you feel like that's the most refined portion of the film for me, at least. There's a lot of bigger moments in there personally, but that's one of the things I can say critically stepping back out of that I will still think about of that movie.
Yeah. The found footage aspect of it, I think, is probably the most compelling. I think as we get into more cinematic narrative, it does work to an extent. I don't think it's a perfect film, but I will say that transition from found footage to the cinematic narrative works perfectly. Sometimes you kind of get that, it feels so jarring to make that jump, which I don't. That's why I think a lot of filmmakers don't do it. But I think he found that happy transition to make that actually feel organic and not have that jarring transition to be like, oh wait, we're in a very different kind of storytelling. So I do love that aspect, but especially getting into that first 20 minutes of the found footage, I was like, I'm all in for this. I think that's the portion that works best. And I'm not mad that it goes to the more cinematic route, but it would have been certainly intriguing. Whoa, if they would have done full found footage.
God damn, we're having our own little found footage nightmare below us. Adrian, you all right, bud? Like, I'm not gonna lie, guys, we have no clue what's going on here. I thought that he was just like fixing something, so he turned off his camera.
Yeah, first I was having internet connection issues, and now I'm having physical connection issues. So
all physically.
Yeah, don't worry about me.
Jesus.
Ooh.
I haven't seen Bone Tomahawk, but people use it as a gotcha at me when I talk about gender and horror. Like, well, Bone Tomahawk only kills men, so sexism isn't real. They are lying to you, because there's actually something way worse than killing.
There is something that
anybody who's seen the movie will know what we're referencing. Yeah,
is so disturbing that it just makes you want to gag. It's like when you put yourself in the perspective of what those characters can do, can't do, can see, can't see, is like absolutely terrifying to get into that headspace. It is like one of those, my gosh, I can't believe someone came up with this, just because it is absolutely terrifying, and it's from the female perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. I do love this too. This description from Violet, very funny. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like it's definitely one of those like almost a fate worse than death. And I think like it goes overlooked a lot because
There's so much going on. Yeah, and
prior to that scene is the showstopper. It is the moment everybody talks about it. And it's one of those things that actually, because of the last time I covered Bone Tomahawk, because I've talked about it in 2 different lists, 2 different contexts, I held back on that last segment because like I want to save it for its own little thing, and I don't know how to frame it yet because yes, it is horrific.
Yeah,
It goes right up there in just for people who maybe have not seen Bone Tomahawk or don't know. It's one of those things where it's like I would say it's close to the same thing that happened with the Wrong Turn remake when I talked about that there was a scene in there I discussed recently, similar-ish, but I would say Bone Tomahawk's depiction is way worse.
Yeah, it's certainly one of the things I'll almost equate it to was like in terms of being able to put it in the headspace where you look at something like In a Violent Nature where everyone talks about. I remember when we did our spoiler review and I was like, everyone talked about the yoga scene and it was like the one scene within the park ranger, and I was like, psychologically, I think that one's a little more terrifying. Where it's like Bone Tomahawk is the scene that everyone talks about is physically, oh my gosh, that's so memorable. But when you move past that and get into the psychological aspect of what those other characters are going through, it's like it hits on a completely different level.
Yeah, it's definitely man. Again, I don't want to like overhype it, but I also don't want to like describe anymore because it's like when you see it, it'll be like you'll get exactly what we mean. Because,
yeah,
like
100%.
And it is one of those things, admittedly, where we talk about like it is something like I said. The scene prior to that is the showstopper. It's the big one. So I really think it does become one of those moments that the more you watch the movie and you desensitize yourself to that big moment, you take it in. It's like the set dressing around there. You see a lot more detail into how these like mountain people operate, and that's what I think really adds to the flavor of them just being a particularly set of scary individuals.
The one scene y'all are referencing, are you guys talking about, Mad Max Fury Road has a similar scene? You know what I'm talking about?
I would say kind of. I think we'll have to leave it at that because if I start describing things, then we'll definitely be giving too much of the game away. So we'll move on from that. But yeah, definitely. I think video game movies, especially with like Zach Kreger here, it's like I trust him. I think he'll do well. It sucks what happened with Silent Hill, but I very much doubt this will be the last time that we get a Silent Hill, outing. I think that's going to happen again and again.
Yeah, I don't know if we already went through it, but yeah, I'm a little sad about hearing that Silent Hill didn't do too well. I'm still going to go see it, but yeah, that sucks to hear. I do definitely hope that Silent Hill gets another shot. You know what I mean? And somebody referenced the demo version of the new game that never came out earlier.
Oh yeah, PT.
Yeah, PT Silent Hill great. PT. Quit kicking it before it can get back up, man. Let it fight again.
Yeah, right. I did just want to shout out my latest video. Orca very much hits this right on the head. So that's that one. Just watched Death Race 2000 again. Gory. Yeah, that original movie is very gory. It's kind of shocking because like you look at the remake and that's what I think everybody looks to with Death Race now, where they're like, oh, that's super intense and gory. But the original was definitely it had its moments. But you know what else has had its moments? Our next topic. Luke, take it away.
Well, we can get into our Evil Dead coverage because I know that's what everyone is waiting on here. As we're waiting for Evil Dead Burn, which is going to be hitting theaters July 24th, directed by Sebastian Vinacek, who also did Infested. If you haven't checked that one out, seek that one out. It is a French film, and it is really good, especially if you're creeped out by spiders. But apparently we had recently a screening for Evil Dead Burn and was met with a lot of positivity. So looks like everything is good on the Evil Dead front. There are a couple spoilers. Make me one. I guess spoilers. It's kind of hearsay at this point. We can dive into it if we want. I wasn't sure if you guys wanted to get into any details because we have that coming out, but also we got a cast list announced for the yet another installment in the Evil Dead franchise by Francis Galuppi this time around, which no actual plot details have been released yet, just a cast list, and it is looking pretty good. We got Zach Gilford coming in from things like Midnight Mass. So definitely looking very positive on the Evil Dead front. What do you guys think about Evil Dead Burn and some of this casting news?
I'm excited. I actually did not know. Are we talking about like just little things we've heard from the screenings?
Yeah, little things that people have kind of come out and said in terms
Like
of
hinted towards plot details.
Yeah, plot details. Like I guess kind of giving their what they said is to where the direction is going, where this takes place,
I'm
things like
fine
that.
with that. I want to know.
Giving hints. Okay, and I don't know. This was posted on Instagram from an account. It was called J_Studios_24. I don't know how reliable it is. I know Sledgehammer Horror, Ken over there did do a short. So if you haven't checked that out, go check it out. It basically kind of covers each different little detail. We can get into just a couple things here, depending on how in-depth you guys want to get. This is supposedly taking place immediately after Evil Dead Rise. It says that the Deadites are looking for a dagger from this family. Not necessarily the Necronomicon is involved in this. It's not the Book of the Dead is not the main focus here. Just a couple of different details that we've heard. So it looks like maybe a different motivation, a couple different things. I wasn't sure when this was going to take place, but it does look like it's picking up right after Evil Dead Rise. At least supposedly. These aren't confirmed. I just want to reiterate that this is hearsay at this point.
And that's the so, and obviously they don't go into any more detail. So like they are saying it is different people though, right?
That's what I'm hearing as well. I don't know 100%. It says, let's see here. Well, the lead character is named Alice, is also one of the things that have come out. So I don't think any of the characters there were named Alice, and I don't think any of them survived. I just did that cold open on one of my lists. And it doesn't seem like anyone would have walked away from any of that stuff.
Oh, shit. So yeah, okay. I'm sorry. I was thinking about our main character. I forget. I totally forgot that the beginning of that movie is the end. So it's like, okay, yeah, wow. So it's gonna pick up at that cabin. Oh my god! All right.
I don't know. It's supposedly picking up right after Evil Dead Rise. I don't know if it's like immediately right after that or like a few hours, a few days, something like that. But it's picking up right after the events of Evil Dead Rise.
Listen, Luke, because you introduced this, you own this now. So if we go into this movie and it's not exactly everything as you just pitched it, I'm gonna freak out and I'm gonna scream in the movie theater.
Well, I hope it is nothing like what I just told you.
No, I mean, that's interesting. It's, I think because we've gotten so used to, especially I think just because of how the series has been utilized recently with going from having the 2013 film to a show that is like working adjacent in kind of like, a different separate timeline to the show, to the movie. And now having an addition that we still don't know if it's its own timeline or if it's necessarily connected to the 2013 one of Rise. So having this one come directly after potentially, that's an interesting take. I'm very excited to see what they do with that, but at the same time, I'm also a little nervous because I feel like having it take we haven't had anything be so direct in a while that it's going to be kind of interesting because I feel like Lee Cronin and from what we've seen of Sebastian Vanecek is very different styles of filmmaking, in my opinion. I think that Sebastian Vanecek is very. I think he's going to ace this. I really think he's going to knock it out of the park when it comes to the scares department. If anything has potential to be a scary Evil Dead, I think it's going to be this one.
Absolutely, and it was reported in the same account that there is a lot of gore, which is not surprising, of course. I mean, this is Evil Dead. One of the other little tidbits here is that the film mostly takes place in an old house near a funeral service. So I don't know exactly how that's going to play into everything. But yeah, I'm intrigued to see how this one is going to kind of If these are in fact true on how that's going to really play in from the events of Evil Dead Rise and where that's going to go, I'm certainly intrigued. Anything with Evil Dead's going to have my intrigue, but this one, I'd love to see how this one plays out. There's a lot going on, and like you said, yeah, there's Sebastian Vinacek with Infested. There's a lot of great tension in that film. It does feel scary, especially spiders have always creeped me out, but there are a lot of scenes in there that are just paced so well. That hallway scene is one of the most terrifying things I've seen, and it's just by like spiders. It's nothing crazy that's going on. It's not deadites. It's nothing like that. It just is that perfect buildup, perfect visuals, especially when we get into the one giant spider attacking the guy and you just hear him screaming as everyone's standing there having to hear that. It's like, it's so, there's so many perfect things going on there that I'm really excited to see how he's going to tackle this.
The answer, Reaper, is cool parents.
There we
and
go.
Not bitch ass dummies who don't want their kids to know what the culture's watching. We're in this shit. All right. We live and breathe Evil Dead. Cool parents, man. We got to put our sunglasses on and be cool parents. I am not taking Atticus to see this. Not yet. We'll get there, but not at 4. So he's gonna have to wait a few years because this is hilarious. So Atticus has been tripping out on me because I could not tell him that I went to go see The Black Phone 2 because it started getting promotions on like Peacock recently that it was coming out on Peacock and now it's here. And he has been like saying we have to watch that because he knows who the grabber is, the character and all that. And it's like he's just like, we got to watch that movie, Daddy. We have to sit there and watch it. And I'm like, you can't watch that right now. Like, it's like, I'm not going to sit here and let you watch this. And he's just like, why? And I'm like, it's scary. And he's like, I'm not scared of it. And I'm like, no, it's you just can't watch it. Like it's too adult for you. He's like, I don't want to wait till I grow up. And I'm like, come on, dude. Like, you're making this really difficult. I'm like, I'm just trying to get you to watch like E.T. Like we're trying to hit the milestones first.
They're level.
You give him a little bit of good stuff, and that's all he wants, man.
I gave him Krampus this year, and he absolutely adored it. It's like, but even then, that's like I put that on the same level as like the Goonies. It's like it's not like that evil. It's like I haven't let him watch anything hardcore, but jeez. Oof. 4 though, no, definitely not. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like I love the enthusiasm, but it's definitely pretty dark.
Yeah. Ella is we're gonna get into it here in a little bit, obviously with Scream, but I flipped that on earlier in the week, thinking that she was running around playing, didn't even care, wasn't paying attention to the television, but she has been obsessed with Halloween, even like more so than when we were in October, because she's been watching these videos of just kids during Halloween and trick-or-treating and stuff like that. So she's been saying happy Halloween all the time, and she loves A Nightmare Before Christmas. She loves ghosts and everything like that. And like I flipped on Scream 3, not thinking anything of it. She didn't care until Ghostface popped up, and then she was just like glued to the television. She looked. I at first I couldn't figure out what the deal was. And then she looked at me, she said, a ghost. And I was like, anytime Ghostface would pop up, I had to eventually turn it off because I was like, he was starting to stab people. And I was like, I don't know if this is going to stick with her or not. But it was like, she was just absolutely obsessed with Ghostface. And it's like, and I talk about her as a child watching Thanksgiving. And it was like, my gosh, there are things that kids will just gravitate toward, and
Atticus with Chucky. Remember when I sent you those videos? Like, it was right when the channel started. We were watching. I was trying to get caught up with the first season of Chucky, and Atticus just like as a baby, it was just like he saw that little doll and didn't get scared. He was just like, "That's the coolest thing I've ever seen." It's like that's a little person like me, and he just was all about it. Anytime he was on there, he was like just trying to talk. He'd get all excited. So it's like he's been a fan forever.
Yeah, it's wild what kids gravitate toward. Like for me, I remember my parents never really concealed horror for me. I wasn't watching it, at least that I remember, when I was 4 or anything. But, I started my journey into horror films very early on. I think I was probably 6 or 7 when I was watching Friday the 13th, the final chapter, you know, and it's one of those things that's just stuck in my head
Yeah.
as I grew up. So it's like I know that Ella's going to be exposed to horror early because there's going to be no way around it. It's just kind of navigating that space, I think, in terms of what's too scary versus what's just fun for kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a kid,
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, as a kid, the first horror movie I think I ever saw was that Jack Frost one, or it might have been when I had a buddy at school showed me Alien vs Predator, and that's what really kicked it off. I remember I wasn't able to watch things like Nightmare Before Christmas, or not Nightmare Before Christmas, Nightmare on Elm Street, and Friday the 13th, but I like would watch these YouTube parodies of those movies, and I became a little enamored with the killers, and I made my own. They were called Smiley and Scarecrow, and it was a little obsession of mine. 9.
Hell yeah. This is why Adrian and I connected at a very young age, because this guy had the creative juices in mind of just making characters and shit like I did, and like this is why we've maintained our friendship. We just are literally designed the same way when it comes to that, because I was doing that shit all the time myself. Like, and I think one of the things that's interesting, and I see it in my son now because of like Spirit Halloween, but for me, when I was like 8 and like 10 years old, and maybe a little younger, when I started to get into more horror stuff, I was always a monster kid, but it was always the toys. I would watch little YouTube videos of people reviewing the like Mezco Jason figures and the NECA stuff from back in the day, and the Spawn figures. Like, they would review them all and like talk about all the cool designs and stuff, and like that's what got me into it. And now my son watches stuff where it's like they go through and they show all the animatronics at Spirit Halloween. It's like the change just slightly, and it's like, yeah, to hear people talk about, like you saying, like you would watch like the parodies and animations, the breakdowns and stuff. Atticus watches this evolution of show or whatever. I don't know if or animated evolution, where it's like they go through every design of a character, like in hand-drawn animation, and like he just gets to know all the different kinds of Jasons, all the different kinds of Darth Vaders they've had, you know, every character you could think of. And it's just like it's just how he consumes it. It's very interesting to watch.
And you know, to tie back to a point I was making earlier about kind of the creatives jumping into the horror space and how lucrative the horror space is with its storytelling. I was having a conversation with my wife a few days ago, and I'll bring it up to you guys, and certainly everyone in the chat, see what they think about it. Whereas, like, I had kind of mentioned my horror experience and really gravitating toward horror films, like all of us do here, and like, in terms of Dylan and I are kind of working a little inside baseball about like a script that we're working on, hopefully doing a short. And I'm kind of just like at some point and doing like
You didn't hear that?
Pitching ideas, things like that. And I was talking to my wife about kind of watching horror films as a kid and how wild a lot of the concepts are. You know, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, things like that. And I feel like it unlocks a portion in your brain that, in terms of storytelling and creativity, and maybe I'm biased because we all love horror, but I think more so than anything like action, anything like that, comedies, where it's like the storytelling is so different with horror and so versatile that I feel like it unlocks an avenue of creativity, especially as a kid and growing up, where it's like you want to tell these off the beaten path kind of stories and really just kind of like amp up the potential of a story, like a guy in a hockey mask in the lore that's set with Crystal Lake and things. So you guys think like watching horror films at a younger age kind of nurtures your creativity as you get older because of the versatility of the storytelling?
I don't know if it's necessarily, I think it just depends on, because like movies, because like for me, I guess you could say horror was like a really early influence from like monsters and like Jaws and stuff, but like it was always like, I guess it was always like horror to me was never something I classified as its own genre. It was always, there were scary parts. You know, there were scary parts to movies. Like Temple of Doom has scary parts, but I was watching a lot of that. Godzilla, when I was a kid, even the one that I loved, had scary parts. Like the Hulk movie with the dogs. It's like I would say that, and it's like I feel like it's one of those things where it depends on just like where I guess it sparks for you and how you want to see it. Because like I feel like to me, I had more of the like I started with monsters and just like effects and things like that, and that's what got me into like obviously horror movies have the best effects, and then you see something like The Thing and it pushes your interest a little bit more, but then you start wanting to hear what all the fuss is about with like the excitement of that. But I didn't necessarily have that till I was a little bit of an older kid, like I want to say like 7, 8, 9 ish is where I would say that for me. So it's like when I think about like formative years, maybe like Gremlins and Jaws and stuff are those movies, but like I just don't know if I would say it was just simply horror or my love of horror that made that anything unique for me.
For me, it was like the rush and thrill of being scared. Like I think my earliest, my earliest memory about that was the Jurassic Park kitchen scene with the kids hiding under the table. Velociraptors are like trying to find them and stuff. I remember my heart was like pounding out of my little chest when I was watching that part. Another underrated moment was TMNT when it was like, I think they went underground under this like subway station. They found like this secret laboratory where like some monster experiments went horribly wrong. And they found like some like crazy city underground. That was all super creepy stuff. It's just, yeah, I think it was a rush for me for sure. And just like the spookiness.
And I think it's interesting, and I could be just fitting into my narrative, but like Dylan, where you say like the scary bits were kind of what intrigued you, where it's like, yeah, not necessarily horror, but the horror elements of it were the things that stuck with you because of.
I would say, yeah, because like a lot of it was, like I said, effects based. It was things that like, oh, I want to make a movie with a shark. When I look at Jurassic Park, it's like I understand that's like an action sci-fi movie in a sense. But I always think about how, like, I want to make a movie where big dinosaurs are eating people, So I guess subconsciously, yes, it was the horror parts that really drew me in and made me excited and get creative. Because, yeah, like, again, you talk to, like, my dad, and it's like I was watching things like Star Wars and all that from a very young age, but it was always monsters and effects and, like, how they made that stuff that was really exciting to me.
And, like, to Adrian's point, where it's like, I think it's kind of maybe subconsciously that emotion, that mix. I think horror is that mix of emotion where it's like you get almost everything rolled up into a ball and you almost don't know what you're feeling until way after the fact. And it's kind of like those are the most memorable things. They kind of just fall into, yeah, maybe it's an action film, but the horror element in that action film got me because it's like the most memorable thing. It's like the most heightened version of your emotion during
stimulating.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like, I think it's an intriguing kind of thing. Just maybe it is that emotional thing where it's like you chase that feeling, so you want to kind of almost replicate it. Where Dylan, you were trying to find creature features, and it's like, oh, that's kind of scary in a certain aspect.
And you got to go farther and further to get better stuff, and it's like that's kind of I think so, because like then it comes to once you get past all that, it's the taboo element of the slashers where it's like, man, everybody hypes these up as being so like scary and so traumatizing. Then you realize it's more about the the risque nature of like the nudity and the kind of people doing drugs and just being degenerates. That it's like if you're if your parents are more conservative, I guess, or just about that stuff, it's like it's a bigger deal. Where it's like my dad, I think Gracie or a few other people agreed that this is exactly how my dad did it, and this is how I very much see I'm doing it with Atticus. Is like I kind of let them dictate when they can watch stuff, but like it only ever will I like agree to something if it's like I feel they are mature enough to handle it, or if I feel we've worked our way to it. So it's like obviously Atticus is like, oh, I want to watch this because he knows the grabber, he knows the character and stuff, and it's like I see your interest in it because you like the mask and you like that it's a spirit Halloween thing and all that, but in my mind it's like he's way too little for any of that subject matter. It's like, and that's one that like he's going to be a bit older before I like actively show it to him. Like I want to show him things, like I said, right now, like Gremlins is a lot of fun. Nightmare Before Christmas is great. I really loved when we watched Krampus together. And that's the thing, like he has so much fun with those movies because they have that tongue in cheekness. Like I want to show him Monster Squad, like, and stuff like that. But like I think the hardest thing maybe that I've shown him, honestly, and he wanted to watch it just because he knows it's my favorite movie, one of them, is we watched Jaws together a couple months ago. But like even that, it's like it's during the talking parts, he's tuned out. When the shark scenes are happening, when they're chasing him on the boat, he's all locked in. So it's like it's very much the big effects moments, I think, that really pull him in.
Yeah, they're really eye-catching. I think there's something so creative about it, so distinct about it that it kind of just sits with you. You know, I think kids are going to notice it. Ella's like completely obsessed with like in terms of Disney's like Monsters Inc. right now, so she's absolutely like about monsters and things like that. So she's got like a little stuffed monster that she carries around, and it's like those are the things that I think. Same thing with Nightmare Before Christmas, where it's like it's got that dark element to it, and I've turned on things like Are You Afraid of the Dark randomly because it's like, man, it's not necessary. It didn't scare me as a kid. There are a couple episodes that are freak me out, but most of all, you know, mostly they're not really creepy to me. So it's like even those captivate her when she's watching something on screen. So it's like I don't know if it's just that horror element to it, and they're so distinct storytelling.
I forgot to say this to you. So the fact that we're wrapping back around to this, and I know we've dropped it a couple of times, so I can't believe I just thought of this. But Luke, do you remember one of the earliest gifts that you gave Atticus? I think it was part of the like the baby shower thing.
The Michael Myers.
Okay, it was one. There was that, but you also supplied something else because we had one specific thing instead of cards that we were looking for books.
Oh no, I've totally forgotten.
So Luke gave Atticus a couple of like he went and bought the more recent prints of Goosebumps,
Yep.
certain Goosebumps books. And I was going to say today is the first day that he's picked one up and walked over and he said he wanted to read it. He ended up falling asleep before we got to it, but I think tomorrow we'll actually sit down and I'll start reading those to him because I started flipping through the first few pages, just getting refamiliar with it and everything. It's like just an easy breezy read. It's like he's definitely going to love it. So we're about to dive in. He's about to get into his first couple of Goosebumps books. So
That's so exciting. I've actually started building Ella a library of Goosebump books and also like younger horror things so that she'll have a giant library by the time she wants to get into it. Cause it's like, that's one of my biggest excitements as a parent right now is being able to kind of I remember the fun I had when I would sit down and read a Goosebumps book. And it's like to be able to give that to her and, you know, actually curate her experience is going to be so exciting. Like to be able to relive those Goosebump books because that's something that's another great point where I was talking about horror movies, but I think also Goosebump books were such a big deal for me as a kid, being able to just sit down. I remember going to Target at the time, they were $5 and me and my sister would be able to pick out one book a piece. And I didn't care about anything, always go after whatever the most interesting cover was. And I remember going home and just being able to read that. And it's like instantly got excited.
Big feels, bro. Big same. Goosebumps had such a grip on me when I was like 7, 8, 9.
They had the
constantly
best
getting them
covers, you know, like they always pulled you in.
They always knew, yeah, exactly how to hook you. You know what I mean? I remember I had a little obsession with like the shrunken head for some reason. I really love those ones where you could kind of like, it was like an RPG in a book. It was like,
oh, those are great. The pick your own adventure where you go to the page numbers. Yeah.
And I think they were like holographic shiny on the front or something like that. I think always those ones.
They were different. And yeah, it's like, I love those. There's a couple of things here I did want to mention before we skip ahead too hard. Necro brought up 9, which I also think is a movie that is pretty underrated as far as like darker subject matter for kids.
Goosebump check.
Yeah, it's like that's a 9 is a good one for that. That doesn't get talked about much. But Gracie and Reaper were talking about something that I know was a big deal for us. Well, actually, first off, I brought this up. Universal Monsters. We talked about that, I think, a couple shows ago with the Mummy, actually, last week, about how just like essential those are for like little kids and stuff. I feel like showing them the Universal Monsters movies, because like my first introduction, honestly, with that was through The Sandlot. I remember seeing The Wolfman through The Sandlot and then asking about that. And then I think I watched it at my grandma's house in like the October. I know I did that, but I know another black and white one. My first Alfred Hitchcock movie, I watched Psycho with my mom one October. And that was, those were some formative movies for me there. But The other one that they brought up was the sci-fi show Face Off. Is anybody here familiar with that?
Yeah, I forgot about that until just right now.
Yeah, Face
thought
Off
that was the movie.
was amazing. Oh, there is a movie called Face Off, but the Sci-Fi Channel show was a practical effects makeup like contest. They bring a bunch of people together and they had challenges every week, kind of like oh god, what's that Ink Master show or any of those reality shows?
They had a bunch of them, yeah.
But it's like this one was all practical effects, and they would do monsters and makeup and all this stuff, and it was great. I mean, it was just a fantastic show. Definitely one of Sci-Fi's best. I agree with Reaper and them on that one. Let's see. I know they're talking about Goosebumps down here. The only Goosebumps I remember super well was The Mask. I remember it scared me so bad I ran and hid in the attic till it was all over. Yeah, dude. The what is it? The Haunted Mask? What is that one called?
Yeah, I think it is the Haunted Mask.
The one with the green face. Yeah, that one was one that I had on VHS, but mine will always be, I have a shirt for it. You guys have seen it. Werewolf of Fever Swamp. That's my favorite. That's my diehard. I'm a werewolf kid till the day I die, and that is my all time. The thing that I will also say is, like, if you want to talk about childhood traumas, seeing that wolf snout and teeth below the steps. Anytime I ever walked up steps in a dark basement with no backing on them, I was pissing myself thinking about that shot, dude. It was one of the worst shots I've ever seen, coming from a fucking Goosebumps episode.
Dude, Goosebumps Mask, I actually had a nightmare where I was like running through some jungle and it just like floated up from the ground and attached itself to my face and then started suffocating me.
Yeah, dude, that's the thing too. They were, I remember that being a part of it too, where it's like the mask was getting stuck on her, and I hated that feeling because they were having those kind of like Halloween, because everybody's had a latex mask on for super long, it gets all humid and stuff in there. It's like you kind of have that fear to it. Terror Tower was another one that I had on VHS. I remember that one. That was very cool. Let's see. I had a Universal Monsters later in life. I had a phase where I felt that I need to look into history of horror and check out all legendary classics. And that's not bad either. I feel like I saw them as a kid and then got to reappreciate them as an adult, especially like around October. I just get a hankering to throw some of those on. Like every year I end up watching The Wolfman. I do try to, I skip Dracula just because I think we had so much of that with Nosferatu, and then we revisited a bunch of that recently this year. But I did watch Frankenstein. And The Creature from the Black Lagoon is one I always watch.
Creature is always a great rewatch. I always enjoyed that one so much.
Oh, yeah. Hey, love the old black and white kaiju movies as a kid. Same here. I watched all those on VHS. The iteration of Pennywise werewolf is supposed to... Yeah, definitely. Yeah. You could make an entire stream just about Goosebumps. Yeah. Absolutely, dude. Oh, yeah. Let's see.
We'll have to do that for like October.
I would love to do that. I know I wanted to do a list going over Goosebumps stuff early on.
We should do like a tier of at least the episodes of Goosebumps, because I know there'd be too many books, but
yeah. Oh, you know what would be even better? Since we all haven't really seen them in that long, we should do a watch along series with that and actually like record those. Like that'd be a great watch along series.
That'd be
fantastic. Watch like 3 episodes a stream. Because they're only like, what, like 22, 30 minutes?
Yeah,
like
20,
really
I think they're 22 minutes. Yeah, because they were 30 minutes. I remember just stumbling upon, because when I was growing up,
they're on YouTube.
You never knew what was on television. And then just stumbling upon a Goosebumps episode and you hear that Goosebumps. And I'm like, hell yeah, I'm in for a good 22 minutes here.
Yep. Yeah, I think somebody told me in our comments not too long ago that the Goosebumps are all on YouTube now.
Yeah, I remember going through. I think they were on there. Not all of them, but I remember like ages ago, because I would go on there and just randomly flip one on and watch it.
The channel Goosebumps Scholastic
has
them, and let's see, there's playlists, full seasons, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So fantastic. They have the entire series on here.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go. I'm totally down to rewatch those.
I haven't seen them in
a minute, at least 5 years.
Absolutely, do a Discord watch party for that. That'd be great. I think that's the one we should do. I know I wanted to do one. My birthday is this week. I was thinking about doing one soon for the thing. I don't know if I want to commit to that, but like, I don't know if you guys wanted to do that this week. If we found some time later in the weekend, I'd love to throw on a couple Goosebumps episodes, and then I could literally cut that together in some spare time.
Yeah,
And just put that up on Patreon. I think that'd be
I'm
I'm
fun.
down.
always down.
I think later episodes Goosebumps went like double length. Oh, that might make sense because I know I think the like episode, like the amount of episodes they made got cut down. So because I think that's one of those where it wasn't doing well, so it's like as the series went on, it was like less and less episodes. Yeah, I know. I'm gonna have to do it. We're gonna have to do at least something this week, some kind of a watch along. But I think that Goosebumps one would be fun. The only reason I'm kind of hesitant on the thing, it's like it is my favorite movie, and I've watched it, but I just watched it this week because I was doing the practical effects thing and couldn't help myself. I just had the file right there, so while I was editing, it just was playing, and I just left it on. So,
You can't help yourself, Dylan.
yep, I'd have to agree. It's the best. It's probably the greatest movie of all time. But anyway, I know we got a couple of news stories, but we are getting a little deep into the episode here. Do we want to skip it? Do we have anything that we really want to talk about with that?
No, I don't think so. I think we can just hop right into our
Scream. Okay, well, it is that time. Oh, thank you, Erica. I appreciate it. It is that time, folks. We are now going to be talking spoiler series review here. We're going deep into Scream 3, as this is Adrian's very first time experiencing the Scream films. Obviously, if you've been going along with us, we've been going over all of them. He missed the first week because he sucks and he's a bad boy. No, I'm kidding. But he did make it up last week by covering both Scream 1 and 2 with us. So we got that here. So I am excited to get into it. But I think even though, Adrian, this is your first time watching it, I think we can let Luke take this one off first, just because it's been a little while since he's covered this one and 4. So
yeah, and I remember not being so hot on 3. It's never been my favorite. It's not the worst in the franchise, I don't think, but I remember when we just had those 3 originally, because we had that such a big gap between 3 and 4. This was always at the end of the line for me in terms of the quality and just the storytelling. And especially going through 1 and 2 and then finally landing on 3, I still think that kind of it falls short of those first 2. It just feels like something's off for me. It's not a terrible watch, but it just does not hit me in the feels like 1 and 2 do with their storytelling. It does feel like there's a change up in writing, which there is, and just conceptually it just feels a little bit off compared to those first 2 films.
Yeah, I agree. I felt like a lot of the kills, I mean, I might be tripping here, but I feel like they dialed it down on the blood and the violence in this one. But yeah, I mean, dude, poor Sydney. Hope she gets a break. I hear, spoiler alert, she doesn't. But anyway, yeah, self-embedded isolation, kind of being like a help center call agent, which is kind of a cool job for a character like that. I'm not going to lie. I thought the killer was going to be like her mom. Like her mom actually wasn't dead and was like the secret mastermind behind it all, but maybe that's a little too deep this early and going on 7 movies, which I think I heard that she's not in Scream 6, but she's coming back for Scream 7. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah, she was not in Scream 6. There is a bunch of drama, which we might have to catch you up on actually before we dive into those. That might be a good little convo to have.
I heard that it was over like they wanted her to come back and she was like, "Oh, you gotta pay me like more than," and then they were having like some disputes over that or something.
Pretty much, yeah. It was just like they were basically trying to. I think they were going to pay her less than what she got in 5, even though like 5 was a success, made more money, did all that, and it was a whole politics situation of just like. She took a stand and the studio was like, well, we'll just hold our ground. We don't need Sidney Prescott. And then 6 came out. And yeah, it was kind of quickly after that we saw that 7, which was initially supposed to have the characters from 5 and 6, has become what it is. And we're going to have to really get into a way to explain that to him. Because I feel like if you have not been keeping up with Scream the last couple of years, it's quite a story to get to how we got here. But yeah, I would say Scream 3, getting into this one, has some good moments. I can tell you, what I really liked about this one, if I'm going to stay positive first, I really like the opening of this. I think Cotton Weary taking his perspective of him being the TV show host, and then, the car conversation, him getting there, and how that all plays out. I actually really thought that was pretty good. I like the way that it opens up with that kill.
Yeah, it had me. It was surprising me too. I like how Scream always gets me with like you think it's going to be something, but then it's not, and then gotcha type of effect there. But yeah, Cotton Weary dying in the beginning, something I didn't expect. Also, it was kind of a cool send off for his character that way.
I like it too. It does feel very much in line with the other movies. It doesn't feel like it starts off very strong, I would say. You could tell that they kind of had that in mind, I think, before they really formulated the rest of the story.
Mm-hmm.
I love that that's who we're with at the very beginning, because I remember first seeing it, and that was certainly not my expectation. But seeing where he leaves off with 2, and then I love that he's just sitting in traffic and gets this casual phone call and then has to race home. It has a different vibe because he's such out in public and having to race home, which, the first one was in a house, second was in a theater, which is a public place, but it's kind of, still all in line where it's like it's a race to the finish almost. And one of the things I want to bring up, I think we're all in agreement that the title for a show called 100% Cotton is one of the best titles
Absolutely
ever created. I absolutely love that every time they pull that out.
When Scream 5 was coming out, somebody, I forget which channel it was, but they had like a bunch of t-shirts made up for, like, they would do a new one every month. And that month they were celebrating Scream, and they had like a collection, and one of them was a t-shirt that was just white and it said 100% Cotton. And it was just in the same font as the show. And I was like, that's a great fucking shirt. Like, it's stuff like that that's like, it is fun. And I do think that, like, again, it makes me, I think, like the addition of Cotton Weary a little bit more into, because at least he's consistent across. You can see an arc there. But yeah, seeing him die in this one, after basically being vindicated and, all that stuff, it's like, it is very different. And
Good reaction out of you.
I do like that it's still a very personal kill, at least I can say. And it does come back later, because you're kind of wondering why did they kill him right off the rip? Like, what's the significance of that, really, when it's like Sydney's not going to give a shit either way. So it's like, why does that matter,
Mm-hmm.
So it makes you think. And I like how they set that up. But I can say personally, after that, very few and far between for me. I don't really like what they did with my boy Dewey in this one. I feel like his character is a very big departure for the most part of.
I'm sorry. I don't know if I was tripping, but where did his limp go, man? I didn't see his limp. He had a big limp in Scream 2. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if they ever addressed that, but I think that, like, this one, it just seems like they don't know what to do with his character, because it's like he just seems like him kind of shacking up with this actress. It's a big stretch for me, I think, on the whole, to be like, we have the whole Woodsboro crew in Hollywood. It feels very Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back to me, which is a fantastic movie, but that's not really what I expect from
Speaking
Scream.
of, love that cameo that they did.
Absolutely. That cameo is legendary.
And I think that's probably the biggest difference in this film, is the changing of from going from Woodsboro to Hollywood, which is like, you definitely feel that difference. I wasn't against it. I just don't think they pull it off. Necro, this had such a sticking point for me too. I was like, oh my gosh, every time that turns on, we wait for it to blow up until he can read the letter. It was absolutely insane. But going into the Hollywood aspect, it feels different, but I like the setting that they chose here, because it complements the story that they're going to tell. Especially if you read the novelization of Psycho 2, and that has a Hollywood setting as well. And it's like, you almost feel like they take beats from that novelization and implement it in Scream 3, which is interesting. And I don't think all of it works, but some of the intriguing parts of that are like when Sydney is on set and we have her being chased by Ghostface in a replica of her own home.
I love stuff like that. That's really creative.
pretty tasteful and artsy.
Mm-hmm. It adds like a different layer to it. It makes it, like one of the things we always talk about is like how Freddy can kind of play in the dream world. It's almost like Wes Craven kind of playing with that, where it's like it's meta as meta can get. It's like we are on a set of your home from a movie we're making of your life. It's like Jesus, like it does have some good moments. I think like the other one for me that is kind of dumb, but I do kind of like how it's done, is all of the Ghostface costumes lined up. And then you have the one, of course, that's in there. It's like, it's not original, but it is a lot of fun. And it is interesting how they implement the voice changer in this one, how they have it covering, making people imitating other people's voices. And not to take a detour into Scream 7 territory here, but I swear to God, if that's the whole thing, which I think it's going to be, that the killer is insignificant, it's going to be some new person for some roundabout reason, and it's literally going to be just, hey, we have an AI voice changer that can replicate anybody from the whole film franchise. And it's like, we've done this before, you bastards. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
That's mine. If it turns out to be that, that's when I'll scream in the theater and piss my pants.
I'll be right there with you. We'll both be screaming and pissing.
Y'all probably won't be alone, I'm assuming.
Listen, we're going to be, if you're coming to see movies with us, we are going to be ruining some theatrical experiences and some drawers. So definitely be prepared. But overall, dude, it's like this one, I think is it's a step down for me. It gets a little too big in a lot of places. I don't love all the decisions they make with the characters, and I'm warming up to Roman, but I will save that. I want to hear you guys get a little deeper into it before we dive into that final piece, unless you guys want to talk about it now.
I'm down. So Roman's character, so my favorite thing obviously is trying to predict who the killer is going to be. I had a small thought that it could be Roman, but then he was like tripping out about not getting his like third movie and his set being ruined and stuff. But when it turned out that he was like her brother and all that stuff and all that kind of like last minute lore, it felt like a lot to suddenly throw in at the end there. But I mean, it kind of checks out. And I love his performance. Actually, both of can't remember Sidney Prescott's actress's name, but her and the guy playing Roman, like them screaming at each other, and her saying like, "Quit, you killed those guys. Quit misdirecting the anger and stuff," and how she was screaming at them. I just love their performances. But yeah, like looking at it from the character standpoint, I'm okay on Roman. He was all right, but nothing's gonna beat Billy Loomis. I actually really liked Billy's mom and the other random friend that they made from the second movie.
Timothy Oliphant. Yeah.
That guy. I'm not good with the names. I don't even know who that guy's name is.
I do. I don't mind it. I think I'm warming up to Roman a little bit more, especially because I feel like when I first went into it, I went in with the anticipation that his addition of being her brother was kind of goofy, but it is again true to its meta nature, riffing on things like Halloween 2 and how they made Michael Myers her brother, and they had to tie it in for that, of course. But I think like for the most part, as long as like again they don't just try to redo this trope in 7 and it stays this way, I can at least say that it's entertaining enough. I can come back to this one and not be like totally disappointed. It's not like the movie is not like terrible. It's just something where it's like in comparison, it's like it's a weaker Scream movie.
Yeah.
And I think when you look at Roman, like for me, it doesn't work 100%, but when I look at Scream overall, in Scream 2, when I talked about it last week, I said it works because it feels like they have a lot of tropes in that, but it's intentional. And it's like, that's what they're using for their storytelling. They're leaning into it. It's all tropey, but it feels intentional because of the story that's wrapped around it. Whereas like Scream 3, I think loses that feeling that Scream 1 and 2 had with a lot of its meta-ness and just how smart it can be. But it's like the addition of Roman for me doesn't hurt it because Randy calls it out, it seems so intentional, where it's like he talks about Star Wars and Godfather. It's like what you thought was true is no longer true. You're going to learn something. The past is going to come back and bite you in the ass. And it's like, okay, they own up to it. They know what they're doing. So that portion of it feels intentional. And I don't have a problem, because it's like if they would have went from the aspect that he orchestrated and directed everything in terms of Billy and Stu going after Sydney, I would have had a problem with it. But since it's the previous event of killing of the mother, I don't have a problem with it, because it doesn't feel like it touched any of the events really of the original Scream, because that was Billy and Stu's idea. You know, they may have been inspired a year prior, but they still went on and did their own thing. So I feel like it still kind of left the original Scream untouched. It didn't compromise it really in any sense to me, because Billy and Stu still had the gumption, I guess, to really go out and try to attack Sydney. And I like that aspect of him, Roman even saying, you know, I didn't know they were going to do that then next year and go on and make their own movie. So it's like that whole confrontation with Sydney wasn't even intentional to begin with, you know. So I like that aspect of it, but I just don't think the writing's there. I think, you know, some of those story beats certainly come from Kevin Williamson, and Wes Craven had a big hand in crafting the story. But overall, I just think the hands that they left it in terms of to do the heavy lifting of the script and draw out what they were going to do in that film, just didn't have a great understanding of what Scream actually was.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. It's again, it's not a movie that I hate, like with of any sort. I think it's got weak moments. Yes, it's got some goofy-ish parts, and I don't necessarily love what they do with our characters here. They do feel a little bit void in certain spots, and I do feel like they're really forcing a lot of drama, especially between like Gale and Dewey, that I just feel like was unnecessary. And I think like it just feels like it's trying to get lost in subverting us and trying to do something that we're not going to expect. That you can really feel like the shine was kind of starting to rub off here. But I do want to say, before we move on to next week's Scream 4, because that's a very big gap between, what was it, 2000 and 2011, so 11 years between Scream 3 and 4. I just want to get your gauge, Adrian. How do you feel about where we sit here if we're sitting there in the year 2000 and this was the last Scream movie we ever got?
Yeah, if I was in those shoes, man, I'd be satisfied. You know, I'd be lying if I didn't want a good ending for, you know, Gale and Dewey and Sydney and all of them. And the ending where they're kind of all living together and they're like happy, and like Gale and Dewey are finally like hooking up as an official couple. It's a nice ending. I feel like I would be feeling a little underwhelmed from like the climax of the trilogy itself, but I guess that's why they had to plug that kind of like, I'm actually your brother, and this is something I was already, you know, everything you just said. So I wouldn't expect a Scream 4, that's for sure.
Yeah, I feel like it does leave it in a spot where it does feel like we are wrapped up. Like there's definitely room to go. They obviously go somewhere, but it does feel like they were planning to take an appropriate amount of time away from it.
Yeah. And I like that ending shot of Sydney leaving the door open. I think that's a pretty fitting ending. I think maybe the continuation of her story kind of dilutes it a little bit. You know, if that was like the last time that we had seen Sidney Prescott and it was like, oh, the door's open, but she's okay with that and is able to move on, I think that would be such a fitting ending. I think where I'm curious, what are your guys' take on like the PTSD aspect of Sydney? Because like, I think like what hurts that is seeing her mother all the time just randomly pop up, and I'm like,
I hated that. I thought
it doesn't feel like a Scream movie in that aspect at all.
Like
I like when, you know, she's kind of haunted in the setting when she goes back and sees the where her mother was killed, like in the set piece. And she has to like relive that. I thought that was interesting, but it's like to have her mother consistently pop up, like haunting her. I was like, that just doesn't feel like a Scream film. But I like the like PTSD aspect that they Scream 2. We get so quick in the situation, we don't really get to linger with any sort of PTSD that she had because she's already in the moment. But like she's in she's doing the call thing with the therapy stuff like that in Scream 3, and then we kind of move on. I liked certain aspects of it, but I don't think it was like fully there, but I love the ending.
Yeah, and I kind of view that door being left open and stuff as kind of like a double meaning, and that's because I already know that there's more movies that she's going to be in and stuff. Because it's like she didn't make. I mean, she might have gotten over it, but she still left the door open. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I feel like after everything she's been through, she's had so much trauma, and it's just all salt in the wounds, pressing in the bullet further in the wound. I feel like this is a terribly, terribly tortured character, and I do hope to see like a little remnant of that still there from an artistic perspective.
From the last like little piece that I will say with this one, because I was just kind of like perusing the IMDb stuff here, looking things over, looking at characters and all that, just kind of really taking my last look at Scream 3 and where we're sitting at. And I just think like one of the biggest things I can say that I will take away from Scream 3 is that like you said, they tried to do that PTSD angle thing to it, but does it all land perfectly? No, but I think one of the things that it does do is it does kind of, I guess, help frame that sort of connection that she makes with the guy Thanksgiving. Oh shit.
Patrick Dempsey's character.
Patrick Dempsey, Mark. And I think it's such a tragedy that if in 7 he's not there, it's like, what the hell? Like, because they even say in 5 and 6 that's like she's still with him, like they allude to that, and it's like they have kids and stuff, so it's weird. But I thought that was a really nice like subversion. I thought that was cool because you always expect the boyfriend or whatever, and like Randy said, which I guess the last thing I will say, because I lied, is the Randy thing. I like that they brought him back. I actually don't care that it's kind of just weird to have his sister show up. Here's a VHS tape of my brother recording. It's like, it's kind of convenient, but at the same time, it's like, hey, this is kind of great. Like a good way to get him back in the story without reviving him, obviously.
Yeah, it was bittersweet to see that. I didn't realize I was missing him during the movie and his goofiness and his nerdiness and stuff. Do agree it was kind of cliche for him to like leave some last minute instructions just in case, but who knows, man? We've never been in their shoes before. Not that I'm aware of.
I hope we are never in their shoes.
And it's like kind of convenient, but Randy is so quirky as a character and so deep in the movie space that he would be crazy enough to be like, if I'm gonna die, I better make a video in case they're gonna need my advice if this happens again, and I like that aspect of it because it does feel Scream-esque to me. It's like it's a familiar face. I love that, he's talking in the past tense because he's like, what's that line at the end? He goes, whatever he says to people, and he said, and some of you I'll be seeing real soon. And
real
it's like,
soon, yeah.
It's like, I love that line to it. It's like, oh my gosh, that's like iconic Scream stuff. And that's like a portion to me that really did feel like Scream in a film that doesn't fully get to what I love about 1 and 2. This one has its moments that actually do work, but I think it was a missed opportunity overall just because I feel like they didn't make use of the setting 100%. And Dylan and I talked about before we even got on here that it's like what they do with some of the characters, especially now in more of a modern lens in what we've been through and how we know what people have went through in Hollywood and kind of the harassment and things that they've went through. I think looking through in a modern lens, they would probably make use of that setting a little bit better than they did back in 2000.
I agree.
Yeah, I think it would be like, I think maybe the big thing, because I know some people have alluded to just like the little references and stuff to the whole Harvey Weinstein stuff through this, that it's supposed to be like a little dig.
Yeah.
But it is something where it's like, yeah, I guess, say what you will about it, but it's like they I guess are at that point, it's like, if you're going to do that, someone should say something, right? Like, it's like someone should speak up if we're going to make little digs in our movies about it. It's like, Jesus. But, it is what it is. Time moves forward.
Opportunism.
And that's what's going to happen with Scream 4. Time is moving forward. Like I said, 11 years. This is going to be an interesting one. I'm excited to see. I know Luke and I were talking to each other beforehand, saying we're really looking forward to discussing Scream 4. And I know it's been a while since you've seen it, right?
Yeah, I haven't seen. Well, it's been a couple years. I'll turn this one on every so often because it is one of my favorites. But yeah, I'm excited to revisit it because it's been a couple years.
Yeah, I'm actually going to probably turn this on right after while I'm putting together some thumbnails. And yeah, no, I'm looking forward to giving this one a watch. And Adrian, I'm excited to see what your thoughts are on this one because I think that this is one. Actually, no, I'm going to save that. Sorry, I can't. It's a nice quote. It'll be fun, but I'm excited to talk about that because this is a really interesting point, and then we start getting into the modern Scream iterations where we are gonna ruffle some feathers, unfortunately, here on the channel. But I'm gonna be curious to see what Adrian thinks because he may not align with us. There may be a different perspective coming in and seeing these, so I'm excited to see. So.
I'm excited to see them too, man. This become kind of a feel-good horror vibe for me personally. It just takes me back to early 2000s, 90s setting, which obviously we're going to be losing with this upcoming film, probably. But yeah,
I think you're gonna feel a lot more at home with this movie than you expect because you got to remember this is 2011, brother. We were very much alive in 2011.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's like you're gonna be it's interesting to watch this movie and see what they're playing with. So I'm excited. It's gonna be fun. But yeah, I think that's it's gonna be interesting going forward here. Again, I do have my trepidation about Scream 7, especially with the possibility of it going the voice changer route. But I just hope that we're doing something a little bit more creative and that we can kind of at least get back to another kind of nice plateau like what we had with Scream 3, where it's like we can stop here for now. At least end maybe Sydney's story. Who knows? Fuck it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll bring it back eventually. So
right.
But hey, that's I think all we got, folks. I don't know. Is anything else we got to touch on?
No, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
I think we pretty much covered it all. Adrian?
The bulletproof vest thing that Ghostface pulled off, Roman, I mean, and how Sydney had a bulletproof vest later on. That was pretty is goofy. I kind of liked it. And I like how they keep up the pattern of ending the killer's life with a final headshot. And Dewey's just like shooting up this guy's chest, and she's like, Dewey, shoot the head. He's like, oh okay, pop, and then finally ends it.
It's a good scene.
Funny.
It is a good scene.
And I love that because it's like you look at it and it's not clicking with Dewey that he should be shooting him in the head. So it's like that classic, Dewey, you're such an idiot. But then it's like, the pinpoint accuracy is to just shoot him right between the eyes. It's like, okay, well, we know Dewey Dewey can do it when he's got it. Yeah.
He's a real he's a real sharpshooter. He doesn't even know it.
Doofy really did some disservice to especially people Adrian and I's age, where it's like the constant watching of Scary Movie and the Scream movies on TV, the interchangeability. It's like everybody I think thinks Dewey's a little dumber than he's supposed to be because of Goofy.
He seems like a little, goofy, and like certain things don't
He's
click
a little
with him immediately.
Doofy. Sticking your dick in the vacuum cleaner.
But yeah, I found his character endearing, charming, responsible, and he seemed pretty emotionally intelligent. Not to like play ball with Gale, at least at first. He always, everybody's got a threshold.
Yeah, it's fun. I think that this will be a nice little. Next week will be a good bit of fun, as well as this week we got a couple of movies coming out. We got Send Help, which is the big one. I think we're going to try to maybe see that, and Iron Lung. We're going to see where the playing and kind of what the lineup is. I'm still trying to see if I can get like a screener or something for that so we can get it a little bit early, but I don't know. It's the fact that we haven't gotten any invites or anything is usually a sign that it's not going well for the broader screenings for that one. But I am looking forward to it, and I think it's going to be a nice little birthday treat to see a Sam Raimi movie. So
it'll be a good time. I'm pretty positive on it. I don't really know 100% what to expect, but from some of the scenes that have been seen online, I think it looks like it could be fun. And of course, Sam Raimi's back with the R-rated film, so we'll see what that leads to. I think it's could be a really good time at the theater. And Iron Lung looks like a lot of fun as well. I'm curious to see what that one's going to show us. The trailer, looks very small, claustrophobic. So I think that one might be playing it at our theater near us as well. So I don't know if we're gonna have to travel too far for that one.
I would love it. I'd love to, if we could do a double feature, maybe that'd be great.
Yeah.
Just knock it out in one afternoon. They just got to have one of those where it's like they have Send Help play at like 3 p.m. That'd be great. 3 p.m. and like a 6 p.m. Iron Lung or something like that. It's like, that'd be great. Like,
I'm looking at Iron Lung tickets now, and it's saying reserved seating and like none of the times are available. Ticket availability for the showtime are currently unavailable. Wow, people are either buying these up or it's glitching or something, because it's all booked out for days. Maybe they didn't turn on the purchase option or something. But yeah, I'm excited to see that one too, and it would be cool to see them both in the same weekend.
absolutely, it would be nice again, especially just because like with Iron Lung being Markiplier and having that be like a YouTuber coming up doing another movie, you got to go support the boy. So I think it'll be cool. Yeah, I know Gracie's saying she's gonna have gonna be going with her friends, so that's gonna be interesting. Yeah, let's see. I saw an early screening of Send Help. It was pretty good. Hell yeah, that's awesome. What's up, Gracie? There you go.
Fire.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So well, hopefully we can get in there, but that's that. We got a fun list coming out this week. It's another top 10. So you got both Luke and I to look forward to on Friday. It's going to be a fun, interesting kind of twist to some of the stuff we've been doing. And then I guess, I don't know. I feel like I really want to tease this, but at the same time, I feel like I always set myself up for failure when I do this. But I will say the next list that I'm working on, the one that's coming out after that one for me, is going to be pretty big. It's going to be pretty good. I think you guys are going to love it. I found a lot of interesting shit, and it is, I will say, another 5 films that are more disturbing than part of the series. So I'm looking forward to it. It should be pretty big. So yeah, that's it. That's the show. That's Sunday Scaries. So that's all I got. So we'll wrap it up here, but thank you guys for sticking with us. We appreciate it as always. Thank you to all who donated, any super chats, anything like that, any questions, anything at all. As always, thank you to Erica, our great moderator, and anybody else who participated, all the wonderful regulars who come in here. We love you all so dearly, and I cannot wait to check out some new movies, get them out to you, and yeah, we'll keep posting throughout the week. So until next time, I'm Dylan Newell.
I'm Luke Chinesco.
And I'm Adrian.
And remember,
Jones.
stay scared.